Hey gang, welcome to Riga in Latvia. Riga is a stunning city with a lot of Art Nouveau buildings. The country of Latvia is a fairly small country. To give you an idea, the population is just under 2 millions. Riga is the capital with an international airport, but we arrived by coach because we came from Tallinn. The coach is just under 5 hours and it's quite affordable. Riga's old town is beautiful and definitely worth going for a stroll to admire the architecture. And when you look up at the churches, on top of the church spires, what you'll see is not a cross, but a rooster. It's probably very hard to see from down here, but the roosters on top of the churches, they are a symbol of Lutherans. I often heard that the rooster is a symbol of Peter's weaknesses in the Bible, but I came across another explanation that I actually like better. Apparently the rooster is also a symbol of Protestantism because the Protestant, they wanted to translate the Bible from Latin, so normal people, whatever their language might be, could read the Bible. So some say that the rooster was chosen as a symbol because the rooster makes the same noise in any languages. Which is partially true, because I guess the animal does make the same noise, but we do spell it completely differently. In English, it's cock-a-doodle-doo. In French, it's cocorico. In Spanish and German, it's quite similar. It's more like kikiriki. And in some countries in Eastern Europe, it's more like kukurikoo. And if you looked closely at the Church of St. John here, if I zoom into the wall, you might see a little interesting detail, 2 little heads. According to legend, this is because through the Middle Ages, this church was a bit jealous that the Church of St. Peter's next door was attracting more visitors and they would give more donations to the other church. So apparently 2 monks volunteered to be bricked up. Literally, walls were erected around them and they were fed through little holes and they were meant to pray all day. So of course more people wanted to visit the church. Sadly, after a while, well, they passed away and it was not that attractive anymore. That is the market square here. Apparently in the Middle Ages, people always did their business from the market square because they wanted to do business under the eyes of God. Because they were honest merchants, or they wanted to be. When exploring Riga, you always want to look up, because there's a lot of Art Nouveau, and so very highly decorated buildings with faces on them. And those beautiful and old buildings here, they're known as the Three Brothers. They are probably the oldest buildings in town. And Latvia has very recently elected an openly gay president. It's one of the first gay head of states in the world. I think it's the second gay president. So let me tell you briefly about the different invasions that really shaped Riga. First, you had those Christian groups that wanted to convert the locals. They came in 1201 with Bishop Albert. There were clearly people here before and probably a small harbor, but it is those bishops that really started to record history and write everything down. Then you had the Polish Empire, then you had the Swedish Empire, then you had Russia. After the First World War, Latvia became independent from Russia. But sadly, through the Second World War, they were invaded by Russia again. Then the Nazis took over, and then Russia came back, and they didn't go. They occupied until the independence in 1991. And this little tower here has an interesting legend behind it. Apparently it was falling into disrepair. It was being squatted by pigeons, And two students realized that there was so much bird poo inside, and bird poo can be used as a fertilizer. So it is said that they sold the bird poo and they made enough money for the refurbishment. Now, if you looked at the top of this beautiful building, you might spot two little cats. Cats have become a symbol of Riga because there used to be a lot of cats here. Riga being a port, there were a lot of storage houses that were full of goods, so the cats were good to keep the rats away, you know. They even have a cat's hostel. That's literally on the street, a lovely little hostel, and it is registered on Google. So guess what? It's got some Google reviews. Some of them are really funny, like this one here, saying they may be racist against the human race. And if you come across those little feet on the floor, those have a very interesting history. This is a little memorial to the Baltic Way. The Baltic Way was a quiet protest against the Russian occupation. A peaceful but very powerful protest. Nearly 2 million people came out from the 3 Baltic countries, and they made an amazing human chain going all the way from Vilnius in Lithuania, all the way here in Riga, and all the way to Tallinn, Estonia. That is 690 kilometers of human chain. And if you'd like a panoramic view of the city, you wanna go up the Academy of Science building to have an amazing view. There is a lovely little canal as well in Riga. And guess what? Apparently it's full of beavers. But I've not spotted any. I've been told they keep eating the trees around the canal, so the town is gonna, well, get rid of them. With so many years of Soviet occupation, Riga also has a lot of dark history. If you are interested into discovering that history, you've got the Museum of Occupation, a very sad but very interesting museum. This little teddy, for example, is the teddy of a little girl that was deported to Siberia. And this is the Monument for Freedom. It is a memorial to all the soldiers that fought for Latvia's independence after the First World War. Interestingly, the monument was not destroyed by the Soviet Union, but they did try to give it a different meaning, really. And you still have some Russian population here, so you've got some beautiful Orthodox churches as well around. And if you wanted to learn more about those very difficult decades of Soviet occupation, this building here, looking lovely from the outside, is actually known as the Corner House. This was the Soviet prison and interrogation room. You can go in and visit with a guided tour. It is quite shocking and quite sad, really, to hear about the horrors that happened in there. Anyone, just because they wanted freedom or because of their views, or sometimes completely innocent, could be locked in here, interrogated, violently sometimes, and they would be kept here in tiny rooms, sometimes up to 20 or 30 into a room with not enough beds for everyone. They could be there for weeks and months, and they could, well, very often they were also executed here. We do not know for sure exactly how many, because of course the actual Russian government is not very keen on sharing that information, but it's a very interesting experience to visit. On a lighter note, in Riga you also have those machines to recycle your bottles and cans. You pop them in the machine and you get back your deposit. It's usually 10p, so that's great for the planet. And it's also quite good for people in need because they can go around the streets and collect those cans or bottles and get themselves a bit of money. The second day, we rented bicycles. Latvia is very flat, so it's amazing for cycling. That's the site of the first Christmas tree in town. Now, Latvia is one of the greenest countries in the world. Half of the country is forest. There's some lovely beaches as well, right out of Riga. We did not have time to go to the sea, but we went to that little beach here on the lake. And this is the central market. Very large buildings. Apparently they were used to store German Zeppelins through the war. There are also some amazing forest cemeteries right outside of Riga, so we cycled there, and it's really worth a visit. Hey, let's go for a ride through the forest cemetery! There were some very original headstones. And look up, a red squirrel! There also were a lot of those what appear to be digital engraving portraits. Latvian people seem to be very respectful to nature. And some traditions appear to be almost like pagan rituals. I've missed the summer solstice for 2 days, but I was told that the solstice celebrations are amazing. Apparently in some part of Latvia they do bonfire camp and they run over them naked. They're so close to nature that in 1692 there was a guy called Tiff. He confessed to be a werewolf and he was judged. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this snippet of Riga and I hope Latvia is now on your bucket list. Next, Vilnius, so look up for my next video.